Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to learn about one of the most common runtime errors in Java, the null pointer exception. We'll understand what it is, why it happens, look at real examples, and most importantly, learn how to prevent it in our applications. Let's start with the basics. A null pointer exception is a runtime exception that occurs when a program tries to use an object reference that is null. In simple terms, Java expects an object to be there, but instead it finds nothing. Because of that, the program cannot continue the requested operation and throws an exception. Before understanding the exception, we need to understand the meaning of null. In Java, null means a reference variable is not pointing to any object. The variable exists, but it doesn't contain a valid object in memory. Think of it as having a label without an actual item attached to it. Now let's see how the exception actually happens. In this example, the variable name is assigned null, then we try to call the length method on it. Since there is no actual string object behind the variable, Java cannot execute the method and throws a null pointer exception. This example is very similar. The variable text is null, and then we attempt to call the toUpperCase method. Since Java needs a real object to execute that method, it immediately throws a null pointer exception. This is one of the most common mistakes made by beginners. So why does null pointer exception occur so often? There are several common causes. Some of the most frequent ones include uninitialized objects, forgetting to create objects with the new keyword, AP is returning null values, and improper handling of user or database data. Let's look at each of these causes one by one. Let's begin with uninitialized objects. Here we declare a student reference variable called student. However, we never assign an actual student object to it. When we try to call getName, Java looks for an object but finds nothing. Since the reference is effectively null, a null pointer exception occurs. Another common cause is forgetting to create an object using the new keyword. Notice that initially the student reference is null. Only after using newStudent does Java allocate memory and create an actual object. Without that object creation step, any method call on student would result in a null pointer exception. In real-world applications, data often comes from APIs. Sometimes an API cannot find the requested data and returns null. In this example, we assume getUsername always returns a valid string, but if it returns null and we immediately call length, the application crashes with a null pointer exception. This issue is very common in web applications. Here we're reading an email value from a request. If the user leaves the field empty or the parameter doesn't exist, getParameter may return null. Calling to lowercase on a null value causes a null pointer exception. Fortunately, null pointer exception is easy to prevent when we follow good coding practices. We should always check whether a reference is null before using it, initialize objects properly, use optional when appropriate, and write defensive code that handles unexpected situations gracefully. Experienced developers try to avoid null-related issues from the beginning. Some good practices include avoiding unnecessary null returns, validating all external input, using optional for uncertain values, and ensuring objects are properly initialized before use. Let's quickly summarize what we've learned. Null pointer exception is a runtime exception that occurs when we try to use a null reference. It commonly happens due to uninitialized objects, missing object creation, API responses, or improper data handling. By validating data and initializing objects correctly, we can avoid most of these issues. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you now have a clear understanding of null pointer exception in Java. If you found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.